if you're walking to a nice pasture and your cows look good and that, and you reflect back and think, oh, I've done this, this has been done without any chemical fertilizers. This is natural. That's cool. That's like winning the grand final, but even better.
That was Chris Eggert, and you're listening to The Regenerative Journey. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and internationally, and their continuing connection to country, culture, community, land, sea and sky. And we pay our respects to elders past, present and future.
G'day, I'm your host Charlie Arnott, and in this podcast series I'll be uncovering the world of regenerative agriculture, its people, practices and principles, and empowering you to apply their learnings and experience to your business and life. I'm an 8th generational Australian farmer who transitioned my family farm from industrial methods to holistic regenerative practices. Join me as I dive deep into the regenerative journeys of other farmers, chefs, health practitioners and anyone else who's up for a yarn, and find out why and how they transition to a more regenerative way of life.
Welcome to The Regenerative Journey with Charlie Arnott.
G'day, this interview that you're about to listen to is with Chris Eggert. He is such a humble, lovely, wonderful fella. I went to university with Chris many years ago at the University of New England in Armidale in New South Wales, and lost track of each other for some years, many years actually, until recently, or a couple of years ago, Chris came and attended one of our biodynamic workshops at Burro at Hanamino at the farm, and since then we've remained in contact, and I interviewed him a couple of months ago now, and I can't tell you how much I learnt, what an inspiration he is, what an amazing adaptation of regenerative practices that he's been learning and honing for many years now, and he's a dairy farmer who was very conventional, and sort of, I guess 20 years ago now, he, for a number of reasons which you'll have to listen to understand, changed to more regenerative practices, and is one of a handful of organic dairy farmers supplying to the wonderful co-op, Norco co-op, milk co-op. And I can't tell you how much I learned and how inspired I was by Chris's his approach to farming and his love of farming, the love of his family involved in that farming. So many wonderful tips and tricks and principles and practices. This is about dairy farming, but it's applicable. His philosophy and the practices are absolutely applicable to any type of agriculture. So excited to be releasing this one. He's a real inspiration, and if only we could get more dairy farmers thinking the way Chris is thinking, the impact of deregulation would be mitigated. There'd be so much more opportunity, so much better quality milk and better quality businesses and better quality lives out there in the dairy industry, which I'm very passionate about. My grandfather was a dairy man, and on my mum's side, and a few generations back too. So it's an industry that's dear to my heart. And this man, Chris Eggert, is dear to my heart too, I have to say. Lovely, lovely fella. I hope you enjoy this interview with the amazing, wonderful dairy farmer extraordinaire, Chris Eggert. Okay, Chris Eggert. Here we are at Oxhill Organics, Eggert's Farm.
Yep, Red Bank,
Wauchope. Can't tell you how excited I am today, even though we've been up since 3:30. Well, I've been up since 3:30. You probably got up at 3 o'clock, being a good dairy farmer.
You want to make you a coffee?
You maybe turned up this morning with a coffee at 3:45.
Yep.
And then off we went. So where Chris's farm and his family farm is an organic, one of few, or one of three, is it three, Norco co-op, milk co-op, organic producers. And I had the pleasure of helping Chris milk those cows this morning. We will dive deep into all the sort of bits and pieces and different enterprises and so on that Chris's family do here, and they run this beautiful farm, 500 acres. You've sort of got some land that's yours and some leased, but also I'm really keen, Chris, to understand, I guess, your journey.
Yep.
From a conventional farming, a dairy sort of situation, as we were dairy, meat, beef, and Chris and I went to university together, so we sort of did a lot of our tertiary study. We sort of understand what we went through there. But mate, tell me first, tell us where we are and why, and what are we looking at here on this beautiful farm?
Oh, we just have a look in the river flats of the Hastings River. And opposite us is the town of Wauchope. It's a great little country town on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. I'm very privileged to have grown up here and able to now farm here and have my family help me on the farm as well. I'm fourth generation on this land, and my kids seem to have a pretty keen interest in it. So maybe one day they'll become, the fifth generation. We'll wait and see. But we've changed the farm, our farming practices dramatically in the last 20 years. We converted to organic farming in 2000. That was, as a push because of deregulation in the dairy industry. We decided to do something different. My parents were on board with it. It's just, very fortunate. Obviously I'd only been farming for, 4 or 5 years, I think, since I got back from uni, and very conventionally, lots of chemical and lots of artificial fertilisers and that sort of thing. I didn't know any other way. Just thought that was the way you did it. And then, it looked like our price was going to be significantly reduced. And I think we just bought the family farm off my dad's sort of generation. And I just did the figures and just went, we're going to go bust here. Like, it's just not going to work. So there was an opportunity through the Hastings Co-op at the time to do some organic farming, and I didn't know anything about it. To tell you the truth, I just thought it was just, for hippies and whatnot back then. If someone said to me, "Oh, you'll be an organic farmer," I just would have laughed at them. But
so we did. I remember at uni, we did one lecture on organic farming in 4 years.
I can't remember. I probably didn't go to that lecture. I've probably got your notes.
You were wagging.
Yeah.
Before we dive into, transitioning and what took place there, can you give us a sense of, before we even go there, where are we in? We're in this, describe what sort of building we're in at the moment, as in what it's used for, which I think is really cool.
We're sitting here, overlooking the farm, and my mum has always been passionate about yoga, and I suppose about 10 years or so ago, she had the opportunity to build a yoga studio on the farm, and she's done that and done a really great job, and with Dad's support. And we have, not only does she do yoga classes here, we have with farm functions here and field days and things like that in the past. Obviously this year we haven't had too many with COVID. So it's just like a nice, quiet sort of place on the farm. We're really fortunate. Mum, it gives us that bit of like peace and balance on the farm, I suppose. It's just the way she is, and so we're really lucky.
Does Paul, your father, know you sneak over here and have a camp every now and again? He does now.
Yeah, it's a good place to get away from it all, and feeling a bit tired or whatever. No one's knocking at the door or ringing you up. Doesn't happen real often. But
if you're calling Chris and you can't find him, you'll probably find him in here. It is beautiful. And
I'm actually meditating, Charlie.
Right now. And I have to say, I arrived last night. We had dinner. We've had breakfast. And Jenny, your mum, I think what she put on this morning was probably I don't think you'd find that sort of feed anywhere. To be honest, I'm not just pumping up your tyres. It was delicious because the eggs were from the farm, the ham was from the farm, the sourdough was from just up the road.
Yep.
Is that someone that turned up this morning with a delivery of some fruit and veg and things? Is that what were they?
Yes, they're like neighbour.
Just swapping
some vegetables and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's just like, we've tried to create community through food and through health, and that's I suppose the yoga centre goes with that. It's about health and mindfulness and that's what's happened on the farm, I suppose. We just become really mindful of what we do and what the consequences are, you know, for people's health, for our environment, for the welfare of the animals and all that sort of thing. There's some, you know, obviously they're big topics now. And I suppose the mindfulness before was about production and profit. And now it's, you know, obviously, you know, you have to make a profit to be sustainable, but it's more about, you know, the regeneration of like what you do, Charlie, of the land and for future generations and that sort of thing. Not only getting it back to what it was, but, you know, making it better, because I think it's infinite what you can do, what the biology in the soil and what can happen. Like, it's really exciting. And, you know, we're just, you know, we just scratch the surface here. Like, there's just so much more we can do.
Before we get on to what you have done, can you take us back to sort of, I guess, you know, your first experiences with being, you know, growing up on a dairy farm, that sort of, you know, so-called, you know, conventional dairying sort of a farm. What were some of the, I guess, the practices and the things that we can then use as reference points for things that you then changed down the track? But do you just give us a sense of you know what it was like growing up on a dairy farm, the jobs, the sort of the enterprises, the sort of the practices of that, which may or may not reflect sort of other farms generally. But what did you guys do?
Yeah, it's true. You know, I was very lucky. I had a great upbringing here on the farm. I had my cousins, and, you know, farming, I suppose for us, we helped out a bit, you know, in haymaking season, and you know, we rolled up turf and that sort of thing, and did a bit of milking and tractor drive. But mostly, you know, we're interested in playing footy and riding bikes and all that sort of stuff, like, you know, normal kids do. I guess, like, I suppose, like, milking and the work on the farm, it's like more of a duty type, like a chore, you know, whereas now, you know, I feel fortunate to be able to do it. Like you said this morning, it's almost like, you know, relaxing sort of thing. If you can make it that way, I suppose you have an attitude like that. And, you know, if I'm down the farm shifting a fence or getting cows and calves in, like, it's almost not work. You know what I mean? Like how good's this? Like, or we're making, you know, compost or something like that, you know. So there's or moving the chickens or the pigs. Like, it is at times, it's, you know, it's a drain, it's hard, like, you know, in the drought and all that sort of thing. Like, I don't sugarcoat it or anything like that, but, like, if you sit back and reflect on it, like with your family, you know, man, we're so lucky to be able to do this type of farming and know that you're creating, like, food for people, like proper bloody food. You know what I mean? With nutritious and dense, and it's the best you can do. We can always do better, and I guess that's what, you know, drives us out of bed in the mornings to go and improve. You improve yourself and improve your farm and improve your product. Yes. So. And
what were some of the practices that you? I mean, we talked about it sort of off the cuff this morning about you know, health of animals, health of pasture, the sort of the milking process, and what was some of the sort of, you know, just your day-to-day practices that you've changed?
Back then,
just give us a sense of what it was.
Throw as much urea at the place as you could, like, to make it grow. And
urea being a nitrogen fertilizer.
Yeah, nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, your three big elements in the conventional farming. And, you know, a lot of breeding for bigger, better, prettier cows, you know. And, like, we had all the cow magazines, or like People magazines, you know, in the cow world. Not that I've read lately. Maybe at uni. I stole them off you.
You still got them.
Maybe. But, yeah, and so, yeah, like I said, it was about production, and you just do whatever it took to get there. We always grow a lot of corn, which involved a lot of tillage, and then we use, like, chemical for, you know, weed suppressant and pesticides and that sort of thing. Like I remember coming home from uni using all that stuff, and like your face would feel like a big fireball, like it'd be that hot from mixing it and spraying it and that. But you sort of didn't know any other way, I suppose. And like I thought, I just thought I was doing the right thing, like the right way of farming. And like I said, when we went to organic farming, I learnt along the way. To tell you the truth, it wasn't, a decision about being noble or anything like that. It was about hopefully saving our bacon and, excuse the pun, and, being profitable and that sort of thing. But as we got into it and we talked to people and read different books, not the sort of books I read when I was at uni, and you could see there's this other way, then just it's like the whole world just opened up in front of you, you know what I mean? Like,
what about some of the animal health sort of, like, the animal health regime? You're talking about some of the treatments, that you might have given the cows at different times, and
lots of synchronisation of their estrous cycle or whatever to get them in calf. So we're using hormones, and we're using like a lot of antibiotics for mastitis control and for just general like sickness, because I didn't know, I was just sick. But when I look back, I'm pretty sure it's from the amount of nitrogen we're pouring on the place. And, it was a bit of a like us versus them, in the dairy. Like they'd be hissing and shitting all over you and that sort of thing.
You mean the you guys versus the cows?
Yeah, the cow, it was like you go into milking like you're going to go and play a game of footy, you know what I mean? Like, let's get ready.
Who won? Who used to win?
They always win. There's only so much shit you can swallow, So. But, like there's usually two people milking, and, one basically standing there hosing the crap down and the hiss and whatever, and or hanging on to the cow while she's kicking or whatnot. But now it's just, we milked this morning. I don't think we had any. I thought I pissed all over you for sure. That's not
the new guy.
Yeah, he must have a good way about you, Charlie. So.
I was just following your lead, and I got to say, we can't leave the viewers. I'm not going to stand up, but my pants. No one would believe. Actually, they're more dirtier from the dog that jumped on my lap this morning than actually the 200 cows we milked this morning. And I'll tell you what, I can't believe the pants I'm wearing. No one in the industry would have done. We didn't wear aprons, no gloves, and we just. Can we say that?
Yeah. Oh well, I don't think it's illegal, but it's not encouraged not to. but we don't need to. Yeah, there's no iodine sprays or anything like that. The cows kept pretty clean and that sort of thing. So. Less, we hardly use any water in the dairy anymore.
Oh, dang, don't give all the good stuff away. Sorry, I'm distracting you. So, so the animal, what are animal health things? So they were, you're saying they were getting sick?
Well, the big thing was calving. Like, you'd have to have the cows in a paddock and be watching them all the time to see when they start calving, because generally you had to pull a calf out or the cow just couldn't do it, or she'd die, or the calf would die, or there'd be a drama. I remember coming home, in the afternoons from playing footy or whatever, when I first came back from uni from up north, and, 10 o'clock at night after drunk or whatever, and have to go and pull out bloody calves or ring the vet and that sort of stuff. But now we just sort of go down the paddock, there's a cow and calf. Oh, yeah, she's had a calf, or it's, you could have 8 or 10 calves in a day and no dramas, Like you still have the odd problem, and nothing like we used to. And as you said, like the temperament of the cows is, like you get the odd cow that kicks and that sort of stuff, but in general is so good. Like they're so quiet and, easy to manage and that sort of thing. So
and used to use
that's the big thing, I think.
Temperament instead of behaviour.
Yeah, temperament and that sort of thing. Yeah, and the behaviour and the ability to carve and ability to breed. We just have a bull just runs in the herd. Like you said, or when do you calve? I said, whenever they feel like it. Or when do they go and calve? Or whenever they're keen. You know what I mean? Like it's just whenever. It doesn't matter if it's winter, summer, or spring, or if there's a spring flush or whatever they call it, or anything like that. You know what I mean? If it's really, really hot, they're not going to be going to go and calf. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of like even trying?
Yeah, letting them choose. And you mentioned you used a fair bit of, as I guess is a reasonably standard thing, a lot of antibiotics
Heaps. Yeah. I think not like, pretty sure 1999 was their last year, like conventional farming. Just what we spent at the vet was 20,000
for what?
for animal health.
So that was
That'd be like vet visits, antibiotics, hormones. That's just keeping them alive or whatever, testing and that sort of thing. Now, we don't go there. Like, we haven't had a vet on the farm for years. So, the change in animal health was pretty fast. Like, it took a while for the soils to improve, but I think taking the bad stuff away helped the health pretty quickly.
When you say bad stuff, what are you sort of
not like a lot
Yeah,
nitrogen, and the feed additives. Like, I've got to be careful what I say because I don't want to defame a product or something like that. You know what I mean? But we used to use a lot of different additives in the feed, like that were given to us, by nutritionists and experts.
Mm-hmm.
We thought we're doing the right thing. We employing nutritionists to help us with the feed rations and all that sort of thing, like trying to get extra dollar. Like, you can understand it, like dairy farmers are under so much pressure. I mean, all farmers are under pressure. I was sort of saying, like last night, all we can think about, or farmers are thinking about, is tomorrow, like survive until tomorrow. So they're going to use what they need to use to control the weeds or grow the feed. But our attitude is more like, months, years. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Sort of like, I'm always saying, like, slowly, it'll be all right. Let's just get the structures in place and like putting the footings down, like the soil and that sort of thing of a house. We don't need to put the roof on yet.
It's a good one.
We keep, we've got to get our piers in the ground. Like, we got to get the soil biology right, composting, calcium, the carbon. And the rest of it, hopefully fall into place. You can get, with anything, you can get too fancy. And we've probably been down that track a bit, like trying to be too perfect. And then it comes back to being a chore, not fun.
What about the sort of the word biodiversity, which, how does the biodiversity profile compare, now to sort of back then? What was it back then? How would you describe the biodiversity sort of profile back then?
What's biodiversity? Like, you know what I mean? I suppose it was something that greenies used. It was the word greenies used. You know what I mean? Look, I don't, consider myself a mad bloody greenie or anything like that. But, I understand, like, the value of biodiversity. That's for sure. Yeah, well, we, just corn, ryegrass, plough, spray. That's what we did. And like my dad and his brothers and his dad, they were great farmers. That's what they did, and they did that really, really well. You know what I mean? Like, so, but that's, all they knew. But they were, they were good farmers, that's for sure. Like, they, I got great, I was lucky to have a great work ethic from them, all of them, all my cousins and all that. They've all got this wonderful work ethic, my sisters, and, so not all was lost, like through like chemical and all that sort of stuff, There's a lot of positive stuff that come out of what's happened in the past. That's for sure.
Totally. We can see it here. I mean, there's what you're doing now is one thing, and, that your family stayed here. They did a great job. As you said, they were great farmers, and you're the fourth generation, and there may well be a fifth. And the fact that you are a fourth generation means that the generations before you stayed here and survived and did a great job. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And I'm, just so grateful for the opportunity, to do what I do. Like, and yeah, I think, it's a bit like emotional, I suppose, He told me not to cry. And I went,
No, I said I wanted you to cry.
but yeah, you do feel like a bit of, it's, I suppose a little bit like you're doing it for them as well as like what, and for, your own kids and whatever might happen. Like, we're only custodians of the land. Like, I'm not into ownership and all that sort of stuff. And like, I'm just happy to have a bit of ground that I can work and do what I like to do with, while I still can, while someone's telling me what I can't do. Like, does it mean like government red tape and all that sort of stuff, now, they come, say food and irrigation and water and, people telling you what you can and can't do, and like
Rules and regulations.
It's just frustrating. Like if you're a farmer now, like after going through those droughts and, poor prices and that sort of stuff, like you're obviously got something going on, but you're doing well. Do you know what I mean?
Surviving. You
don't need to be told what to do by people that don't farm, basically.
Mm. I mean, I guess, and also it would be nice to be in the position where it's not a matter of so much survival, but more of just being, just being progressive and being productive, no matter the climate or the drought, isn't it? Like I know that when we were, and it's not to say that now we're just running along, it's all beer and skittles, but I mean to have things in place so that it's not a matter of survival, it's a matter of just adapting to the change. And yes, you have to take your foot off the accelerator sometimes, and yes, you have to, there are times of the year, times of the season when you put your foot down again,
Yeah, and, you got to make decisions and that sort of thing. Look, there's a farmer around here, he was running out of water. And he hadn't really long set up his dairy, and he sold all his cows. Like, he's just made that decision, like in the drought, coming up to Christmas and that, and then now he's back farming again. He's bought another herd, and he's had a few months off to reflect. And I just, like, he's a conventional farmer. My hat just goes off to him. I think that's just so good. You know what I mean? Like, so brave. Like, and like good on you. You know what I mean?
Let's go to before we sort of explore some of the things you're doing now, the different things and the things that I've been walking around this morning just going, wow, the different enterprises and the what I'm experiencing is just beautiful. Tell me, what was your, I guess I sort of know the answer to this question, but the listeners don't yet. What was your experience of university and in terms of what you learned and then what that means to you now? And then at what point was it, where was it when, or what was it more importantly that made you just go, oh, maybe I'll try something else? Wherever that was presented to you as a time to change.
Yeah, well, firstly, like, it's really great. Like, you come here and show an interest, you know what I mean? And I can talk to you about it because that doesn't happen very often. Do you know what I mean? Where someone's
mate, after this,
a little bit like-minded,
knocking on your door.
We'll see. But so that's really nice, like, because I don't, talk to with my mates or whatever like that much, and I mean we talk about it at home and that sort of thing, but probably get sick of it after a while.
I never.
They say they seem, the kids in that they're on board with it all and that sort of thing. But getting back to the university thing, when I started university, I started doing it's called a Bachelor of Natural Resources, and I never knew really what I wanted to do when I was kid growing up. All I wanted to do was like play footy and be a garbo and go to the pub with my mates, and that sort of thing, I suppose. And then, but
so did you not want to be a dairy farmer?
I wasn't sure. I liked it. I actually really enjoyed doing the turf with Dad. Dad had like a bit of a turf business and that sort of thing. That was really good. Like, I was quite interested in sort of landscaping and I think I did that in year 10 and that sort of thing. And but I always enjoyed like geography and biology at school and that sort of stuff. And then I think I just was going out the door. And Mum just said, you need to make a decision. Or what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? And my uncle lived in Armidale, and I went to see him, and he just showed me around the universities, and I thought, this looks pretty cool. He showed me the sporting fields and all that sort of stuff. And excuse me, I ended up I went to Robb College because there was a picture of a bloke playing footy on the front of it. That's why I chose. I said, that one there will do. And I didn't want to go to the Catholic one because I wasn't Catholic. And that was the other one that played a lot of footy.
St Albans.
Yeah, so
I'm glad you came to Rob, mate.
But then I started doing the natural resources, and that was all right. But they wanted us to go bird watching and stuff like that on the weekend, and I wanted to play footy. And then
the birds you wanted to watch weren't the ones in the trees, mate.
So that's blokes like you I got to know, and a few other fellas were doing rural science, and when I was away from the farm for a while, I thought, man, I miss the farm. I think, I want to do agriculture. I want to be a farmer. So that's, when I changed back, and when I was at uni, I couldn't wait for the holidays to come home and work on the farm and that sort of thing. And so I guess I was always going to come back to the farm. Deep down, that's what I wanted to do. I remember my grandfather saying to me when I was in 16, are you going to come back to the farm? I said, I don't know, not yet. He said, you won't make a farm unless you come back now. I said, whatever. And he said, when we went organic, this is my dad's dad. He said, you can't farm without super, because everyone around here calls fertilizer super. I know super is superphosphate, but that's urea and everything sort of thrown in the super bundle. And I said, we're in big trouble if anyway, we're in just a lot of debt and stuff like that. So, and then a few years later he passed, but before he passed, we used to take him down the farm, and show him the farm, and he was like, wow, this is, and that, it's all about feel good. When someone someone like you respect a lot or whatever says you can't do it, and then says, well, you're doing something here, there's something going on here, that feels good. And that's what I always think. If you're walking on a nice pasture and your cows look good and that, and you reflect back and think, I've done this, this has been done without any chemical fertilizers. This is natural. That's cool. That's like winning the grand final, but even better, I reckon. You know what I mean? It's really good.
Totally.
So the uni stuff, I don't know, I wasn't much good at it, really. It wasn't the brightest pumpkin in the patch, I suppose. So I'd say, I didn't, I missed
your attention was focused elsewhere.
Yeah, I missed quite a few lectures and that sort of stuff. And, and I had a lot of, I was lucky I had a good group of people around me that helped me, friends and stuff like that. So, and I got through it. And also when we did organics, and there was a drought in 2001, 2002, this pretty nasty little drought too. I did a teaching degree as well. So I've got a called a diploma of education.
I did not know that.
Believe it or not. So
that's a bit cheeky.
Like an ag and science teacher. Well, I haven't done it for 5 years. But so while we're doing this organic farming thing and battling away, I was also doing casual teaching at the local high school, and I was lucky, the teachers were really good to me, and they understood that sometimes I fell asleep at lunchtime and stuff like that. Just milk the cows in the morning, and I had to get home quickly, from that last period. I never kept any kids in around it.
No one got a detention with you.
I'm going to go home. Get home and get milk the cows and that sort of thing. And I had good support from my parents, but it meant, I could, I had a young family, so I wanted to shore up our income and whatnot. And, you know what I mean? I didn't want to be taking funds away from the farm and that as well, getting set up. So
what did teaching teach you? What were some of the takeaways from that experience?
That I'm fortunate to be a farmer, and I'm grateful to do what I do. I was a casual teacher, and I quite liked it at stages, but Well, I think in the end I wasn't giving it, the students that weren't getting, what they deserved, and I was, I was taking money and I wasn't really working for it, you know what I mean? Like I should have been. Because my mind was focused here on the farm. So I just sat in the car one afternoon. I'm not coming back. And I never did.
Mm.
And probably since then it's gone, better, because I'm more focused on here. So like the uni, like all that, I probably wouldn't have been in this position I'm in now without, doing that bit of teaching and that sort of thing. But, the kids, the local kids, good kids and that sort of stuff. So it's pretty good. So yeah, something you didn't know about, Charlie.
I did not know that.
Mr. Eggert.
Mr. They call you Eggsy behind your back, don't they?
Farmer Eggert.
Farmer Eggert. And so what else about university was I don't know. Did you take away or what are your thoughts on that?
Just like, great friends, like a friends for life sort of thing from there. And, you don't see them that often, and also like, I was probably out of my comfort zone, but like I survived and that was through, I worked when I had to work, I studied when I had to study, and I realised if you put your mind to something, you can do it. And that's probably more what it taught me than learning about biochem or
you said this morning
physics and that sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it taught me to learn. It taught me to learn and taught me to work out of my comfort zone. When I went there, I didn't know anyone. I never heard of it. I wouldn't have known one private school name. There's people there like, from private schools and that sort of thing. It was a bit of a different culture, and I was treading water a bit, but playing different like rugby union and all that sort of stuff. Like, it was hard to start with, but I wouldn't swap it. Even though like the course and that sort of stuff didn't really, affect what I do now, but I do remember stuff from it that's relevant. How proteins are put together, like with amino acids and that sort of stuff. Like, I reflect on that. I was saying about with the soil. If the soil's balanced, then all the nutrients, if the pH is correct, can be taken up. And to make a proper amino acid, like, you need all the nutrients, because there's 20 different ones, and those combinations of different amino acids make proteins. So you can imagine all the different combinations of 1 to 20 in numbers you can make. So if you're not getting those nutrients being uptaken, you can't make those proper proteins. And if you can't make proper proteins, you can't make your hormones, and you can't make your vitamins and that sort of thing. And I'm pretty sure as our soils have become balanced and healthier, that's the key to the better components in the milk, the healthier cows, the better calving. So I suppose I've got a bit off track there, but I do remember that sort of stuff from biochem, that there is in what we do, there is science. There is a science to it. I guess there's not much research on it and that sort of thing, and it's poo-pooed in the conventional world. What we're doing, but I don't care, because I know what we're doing works, and I've seen other farmers do similar things.
I also, my reflection of the university was it was a science course. There's lots of subjects. There was 40 units. They're all their own separate unit, and some are pretty intense. But there was very little, joining the dots between the different units. There was very little discussion or sort of, summarising of, now you've just learned about soil physics and chemistry and biology, and this is how they all work in together. That just didn't happen.
That's right, and that's what we learn in biological farming. You get the chemistry right in the soil, it'll change the physics in the soil. When you have more air in the soil, your biology will be better. When your biology's better, your chemistry's better. It all just relates to each other. And like your electrical currents in the soil are right when the nutrients are balanced and that sort of thing. I don't know, I don't want to bore you with it, but I've got to remember what I learnt too, because I learn all this stuff like years ago, I suppose, like I did a lot of reading and, you know, listened to things and watched things and went to, you know, conferences and just, you know, listen to people talk and just sitting there just gobsmacked. How good's this? You know, like, you know, Gary Zimmerman and Arden Anderson, Elaine Ingham and Charlie Arnott, people like that, you know.
That rooster wasn't doing any of this, but then. So tell me, so you finished university, came home, and there was a number of years where you were on the job, and then there was a point at which, you know, what led to the was there a day, was there a decision, was there a, you know,
well, I get back to sorry, go back to
no,
it was
mate,
the
this is a pretty loose show.
It was a deregulation of the dairy industry, and there was, like I said, the Hastings Co-op said, well, you know, we could do organic farming. Like you could do organic farming. There's, you know, people in the city want organic food. Like, well, how much would you get? And they said, well, you might get 70 cents a litre. I said, I'll be in that.
Compared to what was?
Well, we're looking at like 25, and we were on 50. So, you know, if you're earning, you know, turning over 400 grand a year, back then, all of a sudden, well, you know, 500 grand, say you're only turning over 250. You're only making 20.
Yeah.
Like there's a big gap there. So when we first started, we were still getting that low price. Like now, you know, with farmers start organic, sometimes they get, you know, a little bit of a premium and stuff like that. I don't think we got any of that. So the first 3 years are the hardest. They were the worst by far. And that's what prompted me to do the teaching. If this doesn't work, I've got this to fall back on. And we were quite prepared, I think, you know, to sell part of the farm. And when we did sell like a couple little small portions and stuff like that, just to keep the banks away and you know, keep our bills paid and that sort of stuff.
Because you went cold turkey pretty much, didn't you?
Oh, massive. Like we had fertilizer in the shed. Like, and we put it all out on the last day of the month. I think it might have been July. You know, the last couple of days, we spread all the potassium, bloody chloride and urea. Like if I look back now, I wouldn't have done it. But and the next day we were organic. Or we started the organic journey. It's 3 years, you know, and so yeah, that's pretty much how it started. And then, you know, we employed, you know, consultants to help us and that sort of thing, and you know, sell us this type of microbe and this liquid, or buy this piece of equipment and that sort of stuff. And, you know, I was sort of doing it blind. I didn't really understand it, and I was still thinking conventionally. So I'd go, well, we're using this many units of nitrogen, so we'll get that in chook manure. But with the organics, you got to compost the chook manure. So you got to wet it, you got to turn it, and the smell of it was just horrendous. So, you know, we weren't adding extra carbon or anything, just putting these fancy microbes in it. And they didn't make any difference at all. And
they were getting cooked, were they?
They would have been. And the smell, mate, is just unbelievable. Like it was worse than the raw chook manure. And like we go to spread that. There's people in town walking down the street with hankies over there. No, just kids.
And you're how many? You're 3-4 k's away.
Oh, from town, or
5.
less.
Less.
Just the river separates us.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, the council end up ringing us up and that. You know, they're at school teaching the kids hanging out the windows, bloody dry reaching.
You're teaching them science or ag, and they can't listen because the smell from your farm's so bad.
Oh, that might be a bit of an exaggeration.
But I read about that somewhere.
It wasn't good. There's yeah, but, you know, it was, you know, people complain about it, and the council come and I said, I can't. We can't do this, you know. And then I suppose I thought, we did holistic management. That's right. I did holistic management, and that.
Who taught you that? Who was your? Brian?
Bruce.
Oh, Bruce Ward. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Legend.
So he was our teacher, and it was really challenged you, I think. Like apart from learning about the grazing and all that sort of stuff, main thing for me was to challenge me to look at myself in the mirror and say, what are we going to do about this problem? Like you're managing this show, or you're supposed to be helping run the ship or whatever. What are you going to do? How are we going to change? How are we going to get through this? And that's, when like Bruce said, read this dude called Joel Salatin and read his book. I read You Can Farm. Wow, we're talking about carbon and, a passion for farming and a love for farming and that sort of thing. And then go to this, someone will say, well, go to this conference, go and listen to this person. I went and saw Elaine Ingham in Coffs Harbour, I think it's 2002 or something like that, 2001 maybe. That's when, like I was saying today about the compost, we learned about carbon and nitrogen ratios. And we're buying chook manure and these chooks are just standing on sawdust. And we're buying that and we're thinking, well, we've got all these cows standing in the yard on concrete. Well, can't we put some sawdust down? It's a pretty simple thing to do, like when you look back. And then it turned into mulch hay and or whatever carbon we can get our hands on. We've been doing that, for about 18 probably years, something like that. And we haven't bought hardly any chook manure since then. Or every now and again we might buy it if we've run out of compost, but we'll add stuff to it. So she was pretty shaky days early on. Like you couldn't, like the farm was addicted to those chemical fertilisers and it was hard as. Like I remember saying to Dad, like, we're standing in this paddock. I said, why is this ground so hard, man? Like, look how hard it is. He said, oh, it's just the way it always been. It's just the way it is. I thought, oh, right, and then we did start seeing the small changes as we made reasonable compost and, we put some liquids on it. We did compost teas for a crazy period of that with them, going off. And sometimes you get one right, exciting, and, your brood looked really good. And get up there and get the cows in the morning and you could smell like the bad smell that was off. So you'd have to throw it out. So
of the compost tea?
Of the tea, yeah. Like it had turned in a rush. I don't know what that was.
It's a bit of wind out there.
The roof just blew off.
That's one of your cows. It can be quite prescriptive compost tea making, isn't it? It can be effective if you get it right. But I've done a small short course many years ago, and my sort of takeaway was some really amazing products can be made, but it's sort of, and I reference biodynamics as a sort of an alternative or a companion type of thing, and sort of got a bit of gear and need a bit of this, bit of that, and sort of suss it out. And
oh yeah, I was real gullible. I'll get that. I need that thing, but I suppose looking back at the same thing, you learnt. You got some good stuff out there. It didn't matter. Like the ground was dead. Like, you'd have pissed on it and proved it. You know what I mean? Like really, like so it all helped. And like I said, we can still do more, a lot more yet.
Just with that transition period, looking back, you can't change what you've done, but is there anything that you might suggest to other, dairy farmers? Or, a lot of the things you did aren't sort of just for a dairy farmer transition type of thing. What were some of the things that you might suggest to, let's just talk about dairy farmers because it's a bit more specific to what you did. What would you suggest they might think about or do or not do that you did?
If they were transitioning, like I don't tell farmers how to suck eggs, that's for sure. But
suggestions, mate.
Suggestions would be look at those resources, that manure, your cow manure and your urine. Where's it going? Or is it just being put out the side of the hill or in one or two paddocks, in the laneways, in the dam? Or where's it going? Or where's your nutrient going? How can you get it on the whole farm? That's probably the number one thing. Yeah. And your grazing, like don't be afraid to let the grass grow a bit longer. You might lose some production, but in the long run, you're going to catch that back up because your soils are going to improve. Your roots are going to get down deeper into your soil. You know, like there's a framework that we've taught by the experts and that sort of stuff. And like, I get that. You know, like I said, under pressure, got to get the best bang for buck today and tomorrow, like to survive, sort of thing. But you know, weeds and that sort of thing. Like we don't top the paddocks. Like I'm happy to have them look a bit scrappy and raggy, like a bit of length in the grass, a few weeds here and there, some thistles. Like you got insects living in there. You got deeper root systems. So there's insects on top of the ground. There's insects under the ground. There's insects in the canopy. Like you see spider webs, like in the higher grasses. Like I don't know what they're doing. Like I haven't really looked in on it, but they're doing something. It comes back to that biodiversity. If it's there, it's good. You know, if you've only got one grass, one height, the whole farm, to me that's monoculture, and that's when like you're going to get in trouble from, you know, cut grubs and that sort of thing. Army worms, like we've had, you know, army worm breakouts around the place over the last, you know, few years, and we haven't really been affected by them. Maybe we didn't look close enough. I didn't want to know.
But do you think that's because there was essentially biodiversity there, and there was no the army worms?
We'd like to think so, and you know, some authors in books I've read and, you know, conferences I've been to, they talk about how like insects attack unhealthy
weak
plants, and they're the ones with the nitrates. Hopefully I get this right. It's, you know, we've got complex stomachs, so we need complex foods, and they've got very simple stomachs, and they need just simple food. So if you've got, you know, one type of amino acid in the plant, like from a nitrogen base, then that's what you're going to get, and that's what they like.
The insects,
yeah, and they don't, you know, necessarily like a plant that's been grown with multiple nutrients, like that's coming from, like I say, you know, a balanced compost.
And is healthy, I guess.
It's healthy for the cows and that, but it's not healthy for the insects. You know, they're called like nature's garbage collectors, and the weeds are like nature's soil improvers, I suppose.
Totally.
I mean, some people.
Did you just make that up?
Some people think
that was gold.
Crazy. Look, I didn't make it up. Like I heard someone else say it. It just sounded good. It just makes me feel better about having weeds in the paddock. That's got a good excuse.
No, we love weeds,
but we don't have that. You know, we have a few, but you know, usually if we have them, it's for a reason. You know, we got bare ground, we got it wrong, we've, you know, overgrazed, or we've tilled at the wrong time, or that sort of thing. You know, there's a reason why they're there. But look, across the farm as we look down now, most paddocks are pretty clean. Like now, you got like the desirable species, like for the cattle, for growing milk and that sort of thing. But, you know, at times of the year, like you see the cows will be picking at the weeds in the laneways on the way home, or you just sort of like observe stuff and notice stuff, you know. Whereas before, like you'd be just on the motorbike pushing them cows up to the dairy as quick as you could to milk them so you could go home. But now, like, you know, you take time, they walk slower. You know, you let them have a pick at the weeds. You don't push them along. If they want to stop and have a, you know, pick a couple of bloody berries or something, pick at a thistle or some tobacco, or even like eucalypt trees, you know, they'll pick at them. Or, you know, even lantana, everyone says it kills cattle. I don't know. I haven't seen them kill anything yet.
Well, this morning, I mean, 4 o'clock, we were wandering down your laneway into the paddock, and, you know, that in itself was a wonderful thing, because you were showing me that this is where they'd been the day before, this is where they are now. You were showing me the difference, and that you left some leaf, you know, some solar panels there, that, you know, will provide the area and the opportunity to photosynthesize today, right now, that, you know, maybe 21 years ago you might have thought, oh, I'll come back into there and I'll whip that out.
Yeah, we'll slash that, or, you know, we'll tidy that up. You know, that'd be the core. We get in and tidy that paddock up.
Mm.
So instead of going down with a slasher on the back of the tractor, if we're going to go down with a tractor, we're taking a big load of compost down there. You know, so we're feeding, I was saying this morning, we're feeding the earthworms. That's what, you know, we're putting microbes out there. We're putting some nutrient out there. It's not a heap, but it's some. It just keeps the soil ticking over, and it keeps the things alive. Like worms will come up. Literally, they'll come up, they'll grab that compost and they'll take it back down. So when they do that, they're creating holes in the soil and pathways for roots to grow down. They're aerating the soil, So all the machinery we used to use to aerate the soil, it's just it's getting rusty, just sitting there because we don't need it.
You got your natural aerators.
Well, you got the animals in the soil, and you got the deeper root systems.
Mm.
So every time, the soil opens up a little bit more, and you get a bit more depth in it. You're farming more farm, not outwards, but inwards. You know what I mean? You're getting more nutrient
vertically farming.
You get more nutrient, coming to the surface, and that's, Joel Salatin talks about that with doing it with animals, vertically. And business stacking and stuff like that on the farm. I suppose it's the same, under the ground as well.
What would you sort of back to other farmers listening and this is some of your advice or your suggestions would probably be pertinent to most people in the world. Apart from a farmer sort of thinking to transition to maybe organic or I guess the word organic often conjures up, a certification type situation. It doesn't necessarily mean you've got to be certified. You did. What would you sort of, apart from the actual practices of, and you reference sort of grazing and composting, what are some of the sort of the things between the ears that they might like to think about or change or sort of, I guess to perhaps give them some confidence to take a step? Was there anything that went on in your mind that you had to change?
I think, a bit of it, like I said earlier, different attitude towards grasses, weeds, production and that sort of thing. It's really hard to quantify on a balance sheet the amount of carbon in your soil and put a price on that, or how much, like they say, well, how many. And if the bank comes, they might say, what sort of infrastructure you got on the farm? And well, you got a value on your sheds and your tractors and all that sort of stuff and equipment, whatever. Like, how much is 1,000 tons of compost worth? Like it's a primary application of something. It's going to stay there. Like it's an investment. But it's hard, they're not going to say to you, what's your soil test look like? You know what I mean?
They don't know.
And that's, I said that I had a safe food audit the other day. And we're ticking the boxes and all that sort of thing. I respect it and we have to do it. But wouldn't you want to look at the cows and the chickens? Wouldn't you want to see if they're healthy? Like, if they're healthy, then the food's going to be healthy. Isn't this about healthy food? But it's just so much paranoia and you're scared about all diseases and all that sort of stuff. But if they're coming from cows that shitting for the eye of a needle because they've grass and their soil is just full of bloody nitrogen. And, you know what I mean? Like, is it that? To me, that'd seem more dangerous. Like, so you need to sort of think about that sort of thing. Like, there may be a bit less production, and is okay. It's all right to have the most. It's all right for your cows not to produce a huge amount of milk. You know what I mean? Like it's always how many litres your cows giving. Everyone asks all the time, how's the cows milking? Let's say, well, how are you going? You know what I mean? Like, when the A-bear comes around, what's all the, to do, with the survey.
All the numbers.
The lady, haven't asked me how I'm going yet. I'm running this show.
Do A-bear, actually, that's a great point. Do A-bear do a survey of the actual farmers' well-being?
No. No. And like, it's the same as like if the bank comes around or someone, audit, or do you even the organic audit. As long as it's no one's saying, how, look, you're running the farm, how's your headspace? You know what I mean? Like,
what would you say to them if they asked you that?
Oh, great.
I wonder how many times they get that from a farmer.
No.
If I'd ask you 21 years ago, what would you have said?
Well, it sucks. It's hard and all that sort of stuff. But I try really hard, like especially around the kids, like not to, complain about farming. Like, oh, jeez, bloody hell, I've got to go and milk again, or I've got to go and collect the eggs, I've got to go and feed the chalks, or I've got to go and do something.
They pick it all up, don't they?
Yeah, they pick that negative vibe up.
Don't
But
they?
if you're like jumping around,
If you're pumped about
how
it.
good's this? Look at these bloody pigs. Look at these pigs out here. How many's out there, boys? Like, I think there's 10. Really? There couldn't be that many. Yeah, and then they're over the fence. Like, count them. Get out of the road. Mum's coming, like it's a bit of fun and excitement.
Don't tell mum.
Yeah, so, like involve your family and like be like positive about it, and you hear like so many farmers like, oh, I wouldn't want my kid to come back to the farm. I want them to go away and be a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. Like to me, especially now as I get a feeling that like more and more people care about what they eat. So it's becoming more and more special what we do. You know what I mean? Like, whereas before, like we knew it was good, but I'm thinking, do people really bloody care? Do you know what I mean? Do they care or they just going to Macca's so satisfying to them, you know what I mean? Like, and that's a choice, and I get all that. But now there's people like now we've been selling a bit of meat privately and in eggs and that sort of thing. Like we're finding people are changing, like and they do care.
It's a big responsibility you got.
Yeah, and they know about it. They know about this grass fed thing and organics and fatty acids and the good fatty acids and the bad ones and all that sort of thing. And it's good. Like it makes you keep on the ball. You got to keep improving. You got to keep trying. You got to keep making your products better. Well, I guess, and that's good. It's called motivation.
Talking about motivation, what does it mean to you when you see the three boys turn up at the dairy at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, I just start crying and stuff. Like just a sook, like like if we've got a big weekend on or something's going on, and it's the same. Like you just they get it, and they'll help out. Like I've never. Said you have to come and milk the cows, or you have to go and collect the eggs. You have to do this, or you have to do that. I've been really careful. Like, I'm not perfect at it, but like I try and choose my words, like for a bit of help or whatever. And usually they work it out themselves, And whenever they help on the farm or do something, like they're on a high, like they're happy and that sort of thing. But I get it sometimes. They come home from school or whatever and they just want to sit down and veg out and watch TV because I feel like that too sometimes. We all do. So, and then they come in spits and spurts, but they all, they can all milk the cows. They can all collect eggs and they can all, get the pigs in if they get out or catch a chicken or whatever. But, they haven't, like when I was growing up, to be a farmer, you had to drive a tractor. You're not a farmer, you had to drive a tractor.
A big tractor.
Yeah, or whatever.
What colour? What colour?
I haven't even shown them how to drive a tractor yet.
What colour does the tractor have to be?
Big red one, I suppose. We got green ones. We got diversity here. We got rusty
You've
ones.
got tractor diversity, mechanical diversity.
Yeah, so, and the other thing is, like they could go down and see what, species are growing in the pasture, or if you've overgrazed, or if things aren't right, we should move those chickens. They're getting a bit. They haven't got much grass there. The pen's starting to stink a bit. We better move them chickens. Or come help me, and we'll do it together.
I've got to say they are three very impressive young men, and I'm not surprised. Like I sat with your family last night, Jenny and Paul and Anne and the boys. Oh well, I don't know. They sort of all came, and Lockie was there for the beginning, and then Jimmy took off, and then Billy stayed.
He'll stay for a while, yeah.
And I've got to say, it was such a wonderful place to be, and I was really honoured to sit with you guys last night, eating your lamb.
I mean, a coastal lamb.
Coastal lamb.
Yeah.
Coastal lamb that's how many k's away from the coast? We call it coastal lamb?
Yeah, we're, as a crow flies, we might be only 15k, maybe even less. Yeah.
We can call it coastal.
Port Macquarie.
I can smell salt in the air.
Port Macquarie, yeah.
What else? Anything else that you might say to a young farmer or a farmer, looking to change?
It's good.
It's good.
It's good. It's great. It's when Norco will encouraging other farmers to, and good on them for doing it. Encouraging other farmers to go organic. And helping them out of it and that sort of thing. My main message is, it'll be all right and it's good. It's good for you, good for your family. And I don't really, consider myself a dairy farmer anymore. We got chickens and pigs and a few beef cattle and all that. Like I said, if you're just milking cows and milking cows, what are you doing on the survey? Milking cows. But if you throw a bit of different stuff in there, it makes it a bit interesting. I'd rather, have a few chooks and pigs and all that sort of stuff and than milk more cows. I've got enough cows. If I milk more cows, I'm going to build a new dairy. If I really want to spend $1 million and have a dairy there and in 5 years' time decide I didn't want to milk cows anymore. And or be forced to milk cows because I've got to pay for this dairy farm, this infrastructure that I can't use for anything else.
Step us through. Just give us an overview of what else you're producing apart from amazingly proteinaceous and fatty milk. Given the report that we saw this morning when the milk truck turned up and did the test, that was outrageous. Can you tell us? You're allowed to tell us what you. I guess as a reference point for quality. Normally,
like with fat and protein, we would have run it. Protein like 2.9, 3 maybe, and like conventionally, and fat and 3.8, 4. Yeah, it's pretty standard sort of thing. Now with fat, we're hitting like 4.8, and protein 3.6, which is pretty high.
So almost
you see it in the milk we drink. Obviously, like we're not allowed to sell raw milk, but we drink it, and the boys drink bucket loads of it. I kept saying to him, "Why don't we run out of milk?" The boys drink it.
Where'd the 1,000 litres of milk go that should be here?
I said to him, he's up a bit on the milk, making the vat look bad. I'm with that. But you see it in the bottle.
Yeah.
Like you can see the because it's unhomogenised as well, the big layer of fat and the goodness. And that's what, like, there'll be 6 bottles in the fridge. And you'll go and there's like 6 half-drink bottles because they've drank all the top off of it. You know what I mean? You just get the watery shit at the end. That's what I've got to use in my coffee. You got to get in early.
But that's I mean, without drilling down on those numbers, I mean, I'm just thinking there's probably 20 or 30% difference between for both those roughly for both those.
Yeah, well, admittedly, look, we got more. It's becoming more Jersey dominated the herd, but I'd like to think it's just like in the quality of the grass. That's making it, and that's coming from the soil. That's coming from all the compost making and the care and that. Getting back to that family stuff. It's all we've got a tremendous bloke who works for us. He's been working for us since he's about 14, 29 now, I think, this year.
Really?
Yeah, and he's just the most amazing human. Like, he's just a wonderful fella. And
Has he got a name?
Joe. Oh, Joe. And, kids just, they just like, my kids like idolise him, the way he works and, his attitude and that sort of thing, And I think, he makes the compost and puts it out. And, he's got that care, and I think that's important, too, And he milks a cow, he milks a cow sometimes and that. But, I don't know how he milks so fast and so efficiently and that sort of thing. It's just really, really lucky to have him and that whole organic journey. Basically, he's been on it too. I don't think he thinks of it as deeply as I do. He's more like, what would you be thinking about it? Just do it, sort of thing. He just does it. He just does the work and gets it done. If there's a storm coming and paddocks and it needs a compost, he makes sure that paddock gets a compost. If he's got to go at 5 o'clock for some reason, he can fit 4 loads in when everyone else would only be able to fit 3 in. You know what I mean?
You get it done.
Just gets the job done. And that's, another thing. It is, a lot of, I suppose what people call it, I don't know why they call it hard work, but, it's a lot of work. But it's it's enjoyable and it's rewarding. Well, hopefully for him, it's like that too.
Well, I think I know why he stayed so long. It's a great gig. It's a great, you obviously he's learning, and he's working with, I should say, a wonderful family, and he's I
think him and Dad, pretty, a pretty good relationship and that sort of thing. I'm a bit, I get a bit unorganised and that sort of stuff sometimes, probably frustrates him, but she's he's still here for now.
Nothing's changed, mate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Tell me, let's talk about those enterprises. So what else you've got? We've got the just on that one. It was wonderful, and we were talking about it. It's not just all black and white cattle. The cows walking through that dairy this morning. We had all sorts of wonderful colours and shapes and sizes, and I asked you why.
And names.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few different
names.
What
were they? What were some of them?
And
how do you name them?
Well, the kids have named them over the years, and that's probably a bit of a reflection of their maturity, some of them at the time, some of the names.
You see them developing.
Yeah, but so we just roll with them. So there's a theme through the herd, like a letter V. So we've got a few V names or cities or places we've been, like on a holiday or something like that. So,
And then there was one year that was all grass?
Yeah, it's a grass year. So one's called beans, for soybeans and that sort of thing, kaikui and prairie grass, different names. But, like 3 or 4 years later, if they're milking the cows, I remember that day we'll like tagging those calves.
Yeah.
That's that calf. Now has become a cow. Oh, yeah, I remember that spot on it or whatever. It just gives them a little bit of ownership. I did that. I named that cow.
Bit of relationship.
Yeah, instead of just giving it a bloody number, like number 1,622, and the next one that comes in 623.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people think, oh, geez, they're silly names. But, it's, cows got a bit of a personality and that sort of thing,
Totally,
so
they deserve it.
So why not?
What else we got here on the farm?
So we run, there are other sort of enterprises, laying hens. Been doing that since 2010 or 11, I think. It's been a bit of a battle from time to time. But
with feed, sourcing feed?
Feed costs, work and fitting it all in. But I think long term they have a really positive impact on the soil because we move them all the time, and these sort of I suppose create jobs and work and it's meaningful work for people, like for family members. Like Billy's 10, so he's grown up with chickens. He's a baby on the front ends, shirt in one of those little pouches,
caboose things.
Yeah, like he's been picking them up since he was 1. Like, so, and the other boys, they go and collect the eggs and whatnot. They can feed them, feed the chickens, move the chickens. Jimmy rears, the middle son, he rears the chickens. So when they come in at day old, they go into the brooder, and that's his responsibility to more and make sure they got water, make sure they got feed. Oh, they crook, Oh, Dad, they're not, it's a feel a bit not right, come and have a look. Other than that, I don't check them anymore. And he gets it. Like if you don't feed them or you don't water them, mate, they'll die. There's no excuses, but we he's happy to have that responsibility, like feed the pigs and he's got some meat chooks and that sort of thing. So and we do meat chooks. We sell them. We don't do many of them, but there's more to start with. Is for ourselves, We get to eat those eggs, good eggs.
I had a couple this morning, outrageous.
Yeah, the colour in it. You can see why.
Oh, no, I thought, mate, this is radioactive, this one. It was oranges.
That's why you go.
There's oranges out bloody candle over there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Oranger.
That's right. Well, you saw the grass that they were consuming, and then they had that, they're getting that milk and a bit of diversity in their feed.
Yeah, they're getting some leftover milk that's made into a sort of a porridge.
Yeah. So
it's unreal.
They
get that.
They're getting that, whatever nutrient that goes with it, and so they're pretty healthy. So the chickens are good. I think we'll probably keep doing them for a while yet.
Where do you sell those eggs?
Oh, we sell a few locally, and a few into Sydney. Different shops and cafes come and go. So it's just it's a bit of a roller coaster, and like I said, it's a marathon on a sprint. If we miss out on a shop or they don't want them anymore or something, no worries. We don't sell to one company.
You're not tied up with the contracts.
No, we're not tied up with contracts. We're not in the Carls or Woolies or anything like that with them. We don't have enough. But we employ a couple of ladies that pack eggs over the years, and they've all become friends with Ian, and looks like they come and pack eggs and they talk. I don't know what they talk about for so long, but geez, women can talk. Eh? I suppose we're having a bit of a long talk now.
You're a woman.
But it's good. It's bringing other people to.
You walked right into that one, didn't you?
It's bringing a bit of community and
totally.
and meeting other families and that sort of thing.
I mean, it's community like it used to be, wasn't it? Like neighbours sharing. Your neighbour turned up this morning with some veggies.
That's right.
I mean, that's just such a lovely thing. You're putting the culture back in agriculture,
and that's what it's like. It's culture, and that's what the chickens provide the farm with some more culture.
Yep.
The pigs, they're messy and that sometimes or whatever, and they get out and a bit pumped. But same thing. There's some culture. There's some little piggies running around. Billy wakes up in the morning, the first thing he sees outside his window is pigs.
Yep.
So it's not, if it was like, some sort of a business mentor or something like that, be telling me to get rid of them because they're not making a profit. You'd be better off milking 20 more cows and
putting the time into that.
Pigs and getting rid of that. That's. But
so
what's long term for everyone's like, mental health and that sort of stuff, I don't think it's a bad thing to have, So we got some meat chooks, I said, and we got some pigs and we got a small beef herd too. So we're selling meat now to people, like direct from the farm if they want it. It's not certified organic, but, it's from organic land and fed mostly organic feeds. And it's, grass-based, free range. And those animals are helping to improve the soil. So, if people are looking for a reason to buy good food and help the environment, then it's a good place to shop, I suppose.
On farm. And you got some lambs as well. We had one last night.
Yeah, we got a few lambs as well. It'd be good to have a few more of them actually.
Well, all good for biodiversity.
Yeah.
What was interesting, Chris, is last night and this morning, and I knowing that your journey into the world of organics started about 20 years ago, and your mum and dad went with that journey. That there's a lot of organic food in your cupboard. There's not. I didn't go looking through all your cupboards, but it was I did. I just saw on the bench.
It went in my room.
All sorts of organic things in there. But my sense was this is a total. Your family has embraced the whole idea of it. Paul was there with an organic beer last night, and this is not just something that Chris Eggert has dragged into the farm and he's sort of doing as a thing, and your mum and dad are sort of just putting up with it or humouring you. I mean, they are 100% on board. What was it like to sort of come home or introduce or say, what was that conversation like with them when you said, I reckon we need to do something differently, or how did you sort of frame it up?
Well, I think, at the time they were all aware of what's going on too. So I remember Dad used to joke about it, like, organics, we should go organic. That'd be funny, eh?
Oh, really? Yeah.
And he said, imagine all the pus in the milk. Jesus, that'd be bad. It's organic stuff, you know what I mean? I remember saying stuff like that. And then it's not like the organics isn't like that. It's not an excuse to have poor quality. I must just make that point. You know what I mean? Like it's not an excuse. Like it's more prevalent to be highly nutritious and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So I'm lucky. Like it's certainly come on board with that healthy eating and that sort of stuff. Like we're not 100%. Like we're out. Well, if we go to the pub, we'll have a pub feed and a few beers and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
we're not crazy about it. You know what I mean? Like anal about it, whatever they say. But like day to day, we're lucky. We've got eat all our own meat, all our own milk, eggs, some of our protein. Like definitely not. She's definitely vegan-free farm here. Like vegan-free farming, I suppose. We're all healthy and happy and like the world's not coming to an end because we're eating meat.
No,
it's making it better.
Well, Paul and Jenny pretty fit.
Yeah. Well, they're in their 70s and they're no worries to do a day's work. I've had young kids here come here and tell me how heavy the chook nets are to shift the net. So, well, sorry, mate, but Mum can do it.
Yeah,
get into it or whatever.
She sets the standard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so for all of us, Yeah.
You were saying when we were out there moving the cattle in there in the dark this morning that you were telling me about the field days you used to go to when you were back in the day, but you had attended more recently some sort of conventional field days put on by industry and so on, and you said that I asked you what happens when you turn up to them. What do they think of you?
I don't think too worried about me, but probably a bit surprised they go sometimes. But
they said they say some things.
Early on, like when we first started, they come about organic and it'd be orgasmic all of a sudden and that sort of stuff. But,
and you used to follow the cows hanging out of the trees or something.
Yeah, just floating in the breeze, waiting for something to happen. But I suppose, like all jokes aside, like socially, I guess for Dad, like it would have been really hard because like he was like a really, he grew great crops and all that sort of thing. He had good cattle and show cattle and all that sort of stuff. So it would have been really tough. But, I suppose I don't know, like he's still respected it. Like his peers must have been thinking he's lost it. He's lost the plot. He's got to drop over here.
He's given that farm to his son and look what's going on.
Oh, yeah, look what these crazy bloody son's doing, you know what I mean? But I can't control that and what people think or what other people think. And if I'm worried about that, I'm not, I'm not doing, like I said, why don't you go to sale yards? Or why don't you, that stuff. I'm better at home, like doing what I believe in, like making compost or brewing a new brew up or some tea or something like that, or, shifting a fence, like, locking a place, locking a paddock up, letting it grow, something like that, or do something like positive,
Talking about positive things, what are there any books that you read that were really resonated, or mentors that you've had that you really made a big difference to your thinking?
I think, early on, there was just a local farmer, Lockie Hollis, which unfortunately passed away last year, or this year, and he was great to me because he'd been doing it for a while. And he's in organics, and he's like really encouraging. You know what I mean? He showed me his like garlic crops and his beautiful garlic and that sort of stuff. And well, you can do this. You know what I mean? So it wasn't so much like really big names, and then we had like a dairy farmer from Victoria come up and see us and that sort of stuff. And he was like, really well respected and a good farmer and that sort of thing. And he encouraged us too. And then, you got like American authors, like I mentioned, like Zimmerman and Anderson and that sort of thing. And, Jerry Brunetti, I heard him speak, and, he's like battling with cancer and that sort of stuff. He's passed now too, but they were really good, like the link between the health and the soil and that sort of thing, you know what I mean? Like how important it is for our own health. So all that, yeah.
And Joel Salatin, who...
And, of course, Joel Salatin's books, which, kids, my kids have read. They read them. They think they're good, like good books, and there's always something there, like inspiring to do. Like, I'm never going to be Joel Salatin. I don't want to be Joel Salatin, you know what I mean? But
you mentioned that this morning, which I thought was really a really good point. Go there. Talk about that.
Sometimes I got caught up and I got real serious about it. We're trying to be perfect with, the soil balance and, the health and the plants. And then, if it didn't work out, or you didn't, get your soil test back and it wasn't what you expected, like you get disappointed and I've done all this work and nothing's happened. You know what I mean? Like that happens sometimes. But like, I think you're trying to appease or please someone else, like from an author or a book you've read or something like that, and that's how they do it. And quite often you only hear the good stories at conferences and that sort of thing. So I think it's important, like if I was saying, like you're saying about other farmers changing, like make sure you put plenty of yourself into it. Don't try and copy someone else or be someone else. Like use some of that work or framework or ideas, but like you're the one invested in it and doing the work, and you've got the good ideas. Like they're there. Like, you know what I mean? Think about it for yourself. Like, how can you make this work? Because we all think differently and that sort of thing. So I think you just need to be mindful of being yourself with this stuff.
And one last one, which is a bit of a practical one, but a really good example of you thinking about it and finding a solution that is just cool is the laneways. You were walking on one this morning and you told me what it was. Tell me.
It's funny, Charlie. Like no one's made a fuss of it like you have before. So,
I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic because the way you explained it.
I mean, I do too. I think it's really good. But so we just use like roadside mulch. Where they build roads or subdivisions and that sort of thing. So it's just like pretty roughly chopped up, what they call a tub grinder, I think, and we get that and put that down for laneways. So it's, it's a carbonaceous, say that right?
Carbonaceous material.
I can't believe I said that.
That's a big word.
It is this time of day. And it keeps the cows out of the mud and keeps the vehicles out of the mud. And it packs down so it's a lot softer on their feet than like gravel would be, and it's a lot cheaper, and it's pretty easy to move around and that sort of thing. And if you want to move your laneway,
you can literally put the bucket on the tractor and move it.
Yeah, load the tip truck up and move it to another spot. And that's what we, I was saying this morning we did when we had some really wet weather over a sustained period after the drought, and we just put the chicken caravans up on top of mounds of this stuff, and it just the water drained away. The chickens kept out of the mud. So they stayed clean, the eggs were clean, they stayed healthy. And we just opened the pens up through the day and let them go out wherever on the grass, get some grass or whatever. And the only thing was we just had to make sure we're going down there every night to shut them in.
Mm.
So, yeah.
And talk about the fungus,
Yeah, and every time you bring a truckload of, mulch from a different area, you're probably bringing in different, species of bacteria and fungus. You can't see it with your eyes, like unless you've, seen that sort of stuff under a microscope. It's really hard to understand that there's so many different species. Like we know nothing about soils and biology and how it all interacts with plants and all that. Like, it's pretty exciting. But getting back to that, we're bringing in different species on the farm. The cows are walking on it, and I guess they're picking it up on their feet and taking it into the paddocks. And it's, like I said, it's all long-term type things. It's not like putting urea on a paddock and seeing an instant response. If you want to do this stuff, it's long-term.
And you've created a fungal highway, haven't you, really? It really is, because that's where the traffic is, the cattle traffic and the passing of bacteria and fungus, and it's going up to the yards and back down into
which goes onto the compost.
Goes on the compost.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like a vein of the farm.
And when, you're spreading compost, little bits dropping out of the back of the spreader onto it all the time. And yeah, so it's inoculating it, whatever, feeding it. Cows pissing shit on it and they're feeding it. So eventually, I suppose it's going to break down. Just put it on a paddock, or, it'll just be a nice big green strip there.
Yeah, we'll put more on top.
Or more on top. Yeah, whatever. Like it's quicker and easier than, Rio and concrete. Once you put that stuff down, it's there forever.
Mm.
Well, I've spent this money on it, I've got to use it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas this other is just so much more flexible. The product is,
One last question, Chris. I've got 1,000 more, of course, but we can't. We don't have the time. The wind's getting up. What if you had a billboard you could put up outside here on the highway, because you're not that far from the highway? But what would it say? That it was free, didn't cost you, big billboard, and it said something like a quote or a phrase or a question or something that everyone would see. And you didn't have to put your name to it either. It could have been, it's anonymous. They'd go, Chris Eggert, he said whatever. What would it be, you reckon?
I don't know. That's just blindsided me.
I don't know. Is there a favourite quote you have,
I think
it's basically advice for the world,
Probably just, be yourself and try harder at it. I think, yeah. I think, I don't know. Be resilient, and don't look for others to blame or whatever. That's what I think. Like at the beginning, it's like this bit of a pickle here. Need to do something about it.
Mm.
And that's what holistic management stuff taught us. Was like, look in the mirror,
own it,
own the problem. You got a problem, own it. Don't jump around and blame people for it, stuff like that. So I don't know if that's what I put on there.
I reckon it's ace.
That'll do.
Mate, I don't want to get blamed for keeping you away from your next appointment or lunch or little. Maybe you're going to sneak over here and have another little sneaky camp in the yoga. You might need a sleep after this.
There's no beer over here.
Can I tell everyone about what you told me this morning about where you leave your little 6-pack?
Oh, I don't do that anymore.
Down near the dairy shed. Mate, that was so – I tell you what, I learned so much, and you are really awesomely inspiring, and you I reckon there's a book in there somewhere. There's a little bit of a guide to dairy farming or farming on the coast, or I don't know, whatever. I called it earlier. I said he was the Joel Salatin of Australia. Right there.
Not even close.
Well, you're the Chris Eggert of Australia. Let's say that.
Yeah.
That's safer.
Well, I do know that there's a lot of, really, really good farmers in Australia, that's for sure. And, a lot of them, they fly under the radar. I don't know, like, where we get our grain from, like Mara seeds and that, like they're amazing. They do an amazing job. Like they're growing grain on the coast or near. I suppose it's not as close to the coast as us, but it's not.
It's as probably close as you can grow grain though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and they're doing it organically and they're doing beef cattle and whatnot. The products they send down to us for the chooks and they're usually, they're always, top class and that sort of stuff. So there's plenty of people about doing like really, really good stuff. Like it's not, I suppose in the media it's just doom and gloom, isn't it? Like a lot of the time, but
there's lots to look forward to. Isn't there?
There's so much to look forward to. Yeah, that's for sure. Look forward to seeing you again, Charlie.
I can't tell you how fun it's been. I can't believe this is the first time I've been here. I missed your 21st. I don't know what I was doing. Something not as cool as going to your 21st, clearly. When the big bull was here. Yeah. Mate, that was a real honour. So thank you, Chris. And I look forward to watching your journey, being involved, stepping through, standing alongside.
I think it's really great what you do too, Charlie, and like the regenerative agriculture. And I suppose we need people like you to like put it out there and make the public a bit more, aware of it, and just probably speed things up a little bit,
Well, thank you for helping do that.
I'm not very good at social media sort of stuff, but
mate, you're very good at what you just did, and I really, and just as a quick aside, I really enjoyed milking those cows this morning.
Yeah, well,
that was very therapeutic. That was lovely.
It would have been easy for me to say, "Oh no, I'll just come over at the end and have a look." You know what I mean? I know a lot of people do that, but I sort of knew you'd probably get up and and do it. I
wouldn't miss it for the world.
That's really good. You're going to buy in the next dairy farm.
We'll buy one nearby. You can look after it for me. Yeah. All right, mate. What do we do now?
We shake hands.
Thanks, mate. That was so fun. Well, there you go. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed my interview there at Eggert's Farm with Chris Eggert, Oxhill Organics there. An amazing dairy farm that, he's been doing this stuff for 20 years and he does have the occasional farm tour and opens it up to the public. I hope he does more of that because there's an amazing amount of, can you hear those guinea fowl in the background there? Classic. Is an amazing amount of wisdom and experience and wonderful practices that I trust that others will pick up in not just the dairy industry but the regenerative ag space, agricultural space. So watch this space. And talking about watch this space, Tommy Herschel is my guest next week. He's an amazing fellow I met at a conference in Melbourne. We bonded in the cab ride on the way back to the airport. We've done some work together over the years, and we talk about all sorts of things. From Tommy's beginnings, pretty rough sort of start to life, dare I say, through some adversity, and the way that he's turned that around, and he's actually used his experience to help others, and it's an amazing story. He runs an organisation, or he is, Find Your Feet is his expression. And he runs programs for boys and men to really look at themselves and step up to the line. And, we talk about toxic masculinity, depression, anxiety, what it is to be a man in this 21st century. Fascinating stuff, applicable to everyone, not just farmers. We talk a lot about the farming game, but I'll leave you with that. Look forward to next week's episode, because I am Tommy Herschel.
This episode has been brought to you by milk. There is a land, they say, that flows with milk and honey, atop a dairy where the white blood goes. It's how they make money. Creator of the cow knew what he was doing. We need them for food, milk, meat and pooing. As part of the balance of landscape and life, buy your organic milk and pay a fair price. So next when you sip your hot chockey or flat white, salute your dairy farmer, as they've been milking all night. This podcast is produced by Rhys Jones at Jaeger Media. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to subscribe, share, rate and review. For more episode information, please head over to www.charliearnott.com.au.